The mountains loomed ahead, jagged peaks slicing through storm-heavy clouds. Fierce winds tore at our clothing, and jagged rocks threatened every step of our climb. I could barely see the villagers behind me, struggling to keep balance against the relentless gusts. She appeared suddenly, descending from above with enormous feathered wings, their iridescent glow contrasting the stormy gray skies. Villagers gasped at her arrival, awe and fear mingling in their eyes. I followed her lead, heart racing, as her wings created a protective buffer against the whipping wind. Lightning flashed across the jagged cliffs, illuminating the sheer drops. We had to traverse. Every step forward felt like survival itself. Her presence exuded calm authority, giving strength to those around her. A sudden avalanche roared down the mountainside, sending snow and rock cascading toward the villagers. She spread her wings wide, hovering above, and a radiant energy shield formed beneath her. Villagers shouted and scrambled, guided by her gestures and protective aura. I grabbed a small child, lifting him to safety as her wings buffeted the falling debris. Her eyes glowed with determination, scanning every threat and directing the villagers' movements. Each pulse of her energy pushed rocks aside, stabilized snowdrifts, and created safe pathways. The storm seemed almost alive, testing our courage at every turn. Yet under her command, panic was replaced with careful, coordinated action. Every villager relied on her leadership to survive. The winds grew stronger as night approached, lightning cracking dangerously close to our path. She swooped down, landing lightly on a ridge, and beckoned us to follow through a narrow passage between cliffs. I noticed how effortlessly she moved despite the harsh conditions, wings folding neatly when not in flight. Villagers hesitated, but her calm voice reassured them, each word cutting through the roar of the storm. I carried supplies and assisted the elderly, observing how she guided each step, anticipating dangers we couldn't yet see. The ice and rain slicked stones threatened to betray every misstep, but she pointed out hidden ledges and handholds. Her courage inspired immediate trust. Even the most fearful villagers advanced. She radiated a sense of authority intertwined with warmth. At dawn, the storm's fury reached its peak, whipping snow across the narrow mountain pass. Massive chunks of rock dislodged above us, threatening to crush anyone in their path. She rose into the air, wings spanning wide, and hovered above the most dangerous zones. I marveled as she manipulated the gusts, creating pockets of calm beneath her wings. Villagers followed carefully, moving in single file, each step guided by her precision and foresight. Her energy glowed faintly, brushing against the cliffs and stabilizing loose stone. Lightning cracked dangerously near, but she remained unshaken, her focus unbroken. Every pulse of her being communicated reassurance to those below. Even the smallest gestures, a tilt of her head, a slight motion of her hand, ensured safety. A mid-pass ravine loomed, icy and perilous, threatening to halt our progress. She descended, landing lightly on the jagged rocks, and encouraged us to leap carefully across. I followed, carrying the heaviest loads, trusting her guidance entirely. Her wings unfurled, glinting in the storm's light, catching snowflakes and redirecting blasts of wind away from the villagers. Even the elders who feared heights were encouraged to proceed, buoyed by her unshakable confidence. I realized her courage wasn't just personal, it was transformative, spreading into everyone around her. As we crossed, thunder rolled, and she extended her wings beneath a struggling child, cushioning his fall with grace. Every obstacle became manageable because of her presence. The final stretch of the pass appeared deceptively calm, a plateau ahead amidst the chaos of storm-torn cliffs. Villagers were exhausted, drenched, and trembling, but her steady guidance kept them moving. I noticed small predators drawn by the storm, icy and desperate, but her wings created a protective dome, shielding the group. Snow whipped against our faces, yet the warmth radiating from her aura was unmistakable. Every villager's gaze followed her, eyes wide with awe and trust. I felt a growing bond between us, an unspoken understanding of reliance, courage, and admiration. Her presence inspired bravery, coordination, and hope in equal measure. Survival had become a shared endeavor, orchestrated by her skill and determination. Lightning illuminated a narrow bridge spanning a deep chasm, the final challenge before safety. I froze at the sight of the gap, but she hovered above, energy, glowing softly from her wings. "Trust me," she said, voice calm and firm, and gestured for us to move. Villagers took cautious steps, the wind threatening to throw them off balance, yet her aura steadied their nerves. I assisted a few, carrying them across, watching how her presence dictated every safe move. She glided along the edge, occasionally, leaning down to grab a hand or lift someone over a dangerous section. Even the youngest and weakest crossed successfully, awed by her guidance. Each footstep was a triumph of trust, courage, and her unwavering presence. At sunset, we reached the end of the mountain pass, battered but alive. The storm began to subside, revealing distant valleys bathed in golden light. Villagers collapsed. In relief, expressions a mixture of gratitude and amazement. She landed gracefully among us, wings folding elegantly, her energy still softly glowing. I looked at her, realizing that her courage had not just led us, it had transformed us. The terrifying storm, the deadly cliffs, and the lurking dangers had all been navigated under her guidance. Her bravery had reshaped fear into confidence, chaos into order. She smiled faintly, as if acknowledging the strength she had inspired. The following morning, the villagers organized themselves under her continued guidance, reinforcing shelters and clearing paths of lingering ice. I helped distribute supplies, noticing how every movement she made encouraged unity, confidence, and precision. Her wings, though folded, seemed to radiate power and safety. Even the natural threats of the mountains, avalanches, falling rocks, predators, were approached with calm respect because of her presence. I realized her courage wasn't just heroic, it was transformative. Every human around her had grown stronger, more capable, and more willing to face danger. The storm had tested us all, but she had turned it into a masterclass of leadership. By midday, she led the villagers to a higher vantage point overlooking the entire pass. The scene was breathtaking, jagged peaks, storm clouds dissipating, rivers of melting ice flowing below. Her wings caught the sunlight, shimmering with iridescent brilliance, a visible symbol of guidance and hope. Villagers stood proudly, marveling at their own survival and her unmatched leadership. I could see in every face the mixture of awe, gratitude, and newfound courage. The mountains that had threatened to crush us were now conquered, not by brute strength, but by guidance, courage, and unwavering determination. Her presence had truly carried us to safety. The next day, the mountains were quiet but deceptive, with hidden crevices and sudden gusts threatening anyone who stepped unwisely. She led the group along a narrow ridge, wings partially unfurled, scanning for hazards. I followed closely, carrying supplies for the villagers who were still exhausted from the previous day. A sudden gust blew a small child toward the edge, but she swooped down, catching him effortlessly in her arms. Her eyes glowed softly, radiating reassurance, and the villagers whispered in awe. Every movement she made was precise, her energy subtly stabilizing the treacherous terrain. I realized that even in calm, she maintained constant vigilance. Her courage was not just reactive, it was proactive protection. Further along, a group of mountain predators emerged, their claws clicking on jagged rocks. Villagers froze, unsure whether to flee or fight. She spread her wings wide, creating a wind barrier that kept the creatures at bay. I fired arrows carefully, following her subtle hand gestures that guided each shot. The predators circled, testing the humans, but her presence alone seemed to command respect. Each villager gained confidence, moving as one cohesive unit under her guidance. Lightning flickered in the distance, reflecting off the icy walls of the mountain pass. Her courage was infectious. Even the most fearful now moved with determination. I felt a surge of pride watching humans and alien leadership unite seamlessly. A sudden rumble announced a partial rock slide ahead, the pathway blocked by massive boulders and debris. She tilted her head, assessing the safest route, and then motioned us to climb a narrow crevice. I helped villagers scale the rocks while she hovered above, energy glimmering and redirecting falling debris. Small avalanches threatened from above, but she caught every one, sending them harmlessly aside. Her wings stretched wide, casting shadows that seemed to shield us from the worst of the storm. I could hear villagers murmuring in amazement, their trust in her unwavering. Even the terrain itself seemed to respond to her presence, as if acknowledging her command over danger. Every move was synchronized perfection. As night approached, freezing winds intensified, turning the mountains into a maze of ice and shadow. She found a sheltered alcove and signaled the villagers to rest, using her energy to create a glowing, protective dome. I assisted the elderly and the children inside, feeling safer under her watchful gaze. Outside, the storm roared, lightning slicing across jagged peaks, but we were calm, knowing she could handle any threat. Her wings glimmered faintly in the moonlight, a symbol of hope and courage. Even in darkness, her presence was luminous, guiding our hearts and minds. I realized that her bravery was more than physical. It was the emotional anchor of the entire group. The following morning, ice fog shrouded the peaks, making visibility nearly zero. Villagers hesitated, unsure of the path. She rose into the mist, wings glowing softly, casting a guiding light. I followed her lead, holding torches to illuminate the treacherous path, while she gestured precisely to mark safe footholds. Wolves prowled the fog, their eyes glowing eerily, yet her energy created a protective perimeter that kept them at bay. Every villager moved confidently, trusting her unshakable judgment. The mountains challenged us at every step, but her courage transformed fear into strategy. Even the youngest villagers moved with a sense of purpose, inspired by her steady presence. Midday brought another trial. A frozen waterfall blocked the route, its surface slick and dangerous. She hovered above, wings cutting through icy mist, and demonstrated how to scale it using energy-assisted grips. I followed her, carrying supplies, watching villagers replicate her movements with precision. A small group slipped, but she extended her wings, catching them and cushioning their fall. Her courage radiated outward, strengthening nerves and focusing minds. Lightning flickered across distant peaks, but we moved without hesitation, guided by her skill and bravery. Every obstacle now seemed surmountable. As we reached a higher ridge, snowstorms intensified, cutting visibility to mere meters. She spread her wings, energy radiating outward, creating a protective dome that shielded villagers from the harsh winds. I assisted those struggling to breathe and keep their footing, inspired by the confidence she instilled in us all. Predators lurked in hidden crevices, but she anticipated every ambush, guiding movements with subtle gestures. Even the storm itself seemed less threatening under her influence. Her courage wasn't just about bravery, it was mastery over fear, teaching us all to act with focus and precision. The human spirit, guided by her alien insight, thrived. The final mountain pass loomed, narrow and treacherous, with sheer cliffs dropping into fog-filled chasms. Villagers hesitated, but she hovered above, calling out instructions with calm authority. I helped carry supplies, guiding villagers across narrow ledges. Her wings created gusts that countered the storm's fury, while energy pulses reinforced unstable rocks. Every step became manageable because of her guidance. Even the most hesitant villagers crossed with confidence, inspired by her courage. Lightning flashed dangerously close, yet she remained unfazed, radiating unwavering control. The storm-torn mountains, once deadly, had become navigable under her leadership. Finally, the storm began to abate, revealing a vast valley ahead bathed in soft sunlight. Villagers cheered, exhausted but exhilarated, and she landed gracefully, among them, wings folding elegantly. Her glowing eyes scanned everyone, ensuring no one was injured, no one left behind. I realized the journey had transformed us all. Humans had grown stronger, braver, and more united than ever before. Her courage had not only guided us, but had instilled resilience and hope. The mountains that had threatened to crush us now bore witness to the power of leadership, courage, and unity. She smiled faintly, knowing her role was complete, at least for now. The storm had mostly passed, but jagged peaks and hidden crevices still posed deadly threats. Villagers moved cautiously, guided by her calm presence, wings glinting in the filtered sunlight. I assisted the elderly, noticing how her every gesture radiated reassurance. Predators stirred in hidden ledges, drawn by movement and noise, but she extended her wings, forming a protective barrier. Even the smallest creature dared not approach as her authority filled the mountains. I marveled at the balance between her alien grace and tactical precision. Each footstep felt deliberate, every movement calculated. The villagers' trust in her was absolute, and fear was replaced by confidence. A sudden rumble from above revealed an impending avalanche, snow and rock cascading down the slopes. She swooped high, wings slicing the wind, energy radiating outward, to divert falling debris. I helped carry supplies and guide villagers to a safer ridge, feeling the raw power she commanded. Her voice cut through the roaring storm, calm and steady, coordinating every movement. Lightning flashed dangerously, close, illuminating the frozen peaks, yet she remained unshaken. Every villager felt their courage grow under her watchful eyes. Even the youngest children moved with renewed confidence. The avalanche passed harmlessly beneath her protective aura. Her leadership turned panic into synchronized action. By midday, a narrow bridge over a deep ravine blocked our path, slippery, with ice and snow. Villagers froze at the sight, hesitation written clearly on their faces. She hovered above, wings glowing softly, and gestured for everyone to advance carefully. I carried the heaviest loads, following her precise instructions, while villagers crossed one by one. The bridge swayed dangerously under weight, but her aura stabilized each step. A few small rock slides threatened the crossing, yet she redirected them with subtle movements. Her courage was tangible, infusing every human below with confidence. Even the most fearful moved with determination, inspired by her unwavering resolve. By the time the last villager crossed, I felt a surge of shared triumph. As we reached the final ridge, snowstorms churned once again, whipping clouds and ice across our path. She rose into the sky, wings fully extended, casting protective gusts across the group. Villagers clutched each other, following her invisible guidance. Predators and hidden dangers lurked, but she anticipated each one, creating safe passage at every turn. I helped steady the elderly, watching her direct every movement with unmatched precision. Her courage had become the anchor of the expedition, transforming fear into action. Each pulse of her energy reinforced the cliffs and calmed the fiercest gusts. Even the storm itself seemed subdued by her presence. Survival now felt almost assured. At sunset, the mountains finally gave way to a wide, sunlit valley, a safe haven after the relentless trials. Villagers cheered, exhausted but exhilarated, their expressions a mixture of gratitude and awe. She landed gracefully among us, wings folding elegantly, energy still faintly glowing. I looked around, realizing every person had been transformed by her courage. The treacherous peaks, The hidden predators and the relentless storms had been overcome, not by brute force, but by strategy, leadership, and unwavering bravery. Her presence had inspired unity, resilience, and hope. Even the smallest child clutched my hand, eyes wide, reflecting admiration. I felt an unspoken bond form between her and every human she had saved. The following morning, she guided us through the valley, showing paths, safe shelters, and hidden springs. Villagers worked in unison, rebuilding and fortifying, learning from her efficiency. I observed her interactions, gentle, commanding, empathetic, every gesture inspiring cooperation and respect. Her wings, now folded, radiated calm authority. Even the natural challenges of the valley, the rivers, uneven terrain, and lingering snowfields, were approached with confidence. I realized her courage wasn't just about survival, it was about teaching humans to thrive, adapt, and lead alongside her. Every footstep we took felt purposeful, every action inspired by her presence. Later, predators began to gather near the valley edge, curious yet hesitant. She rose, wings glowing brightly, and guided villagers to safety while maintaining watchful eyes on the wildlife. Her energy pulses extended outward, creating a protective dome. I marveled at her ability to manage both humans and wild creatures simultaneously. Every movement was graceful yet purposeful, radiating strength and empathy. The valley, once dangerous, now felt safe under her guidance. Villagers whispered in amazement at her power and strategy. I realized that courage isn't just about confronting threats, it's about inspiring others to act with confidence and clarity. Her leadership was unmatched. One evening, as the sun dipped below the jagged peaks, we celebrated our survival with food and laughter. Villagers shared stories of fear and triumph, often pointing toward her in gratitude. She watched quietly, wings gently unfurling, her presence filling the space with warmth and reassurance. Even in moments of rest, her aura inspired respect, admiration, and hope. I felt a deep sense of gratitude, realizing how much we had grown under her guidance. The mountains that had threatened our lives now bore witness to human courage, amplified by her leadership. Every smile, every relieved sigh spoke of trust and shared victory. She was more than a protector. She was the heart of our resilience. In Seu, the final stretch, scouts discovered a hidden path leading down to fertile plains below. Villagers followed cautiously, inspired by her calm authority. She glided ahead, wings slicing the air, signaling hazards and guiding every step. I assisted, families crossing unstable ice bridges, while her presence ensured even the most dangerous paths were safe. Predators lingered but were deterred by her energy field. Every villager's confidence had grown immeasurably since the first storm. I realized the mountains had not just tested us, they had transformed us. Her courage had reshaped fear into mastery, chaos into order. At last we reached the plains, wide open and sun-drenched, safe from the mountains' fury. Villagers cheered, embracing one another, gratitude shining in every eye. She landed among us, wings folding with serene elegance, energy pulsing softly. I approached, feeling a bond of admiration, trust, and respect. The journey had been perilous, but her leadership had carried us through every trial. Her courage had taught us strategy, unity, and confidence. The mountains behind us now seemed like distant memories, shadows of challenges overcome. Her wings, once a symbol of hope in the storm, now marked the triumph of human resilience guided by alien wisdom. Finally, as night fell, she stood atop a gentle hill, wings extended to the starlit sky. Villagers gathered at her feet, looking, up in awe, feeling safe and inspired. I realized that her presence had transformed not only our survival, but our very spirits. The storms, Avalanches, predators, and ice had all been conquered through courage, guidance, and unwavering determination. Her wings had literally carried us to safety, but they had also carried our hearts, teaching us bravery, trust, and hope. The mountains that once threatened to crush us now stood as monuments to resilience. I felt profound gratitude, knowing that with her, humans could face anything.